Hi, welcome to the Droid Garage. I'm excited you guys decided to stop back for our second video. If you recall, last time we spliced some files and started printing. This time is where the fun begins. That was unintentional, but funny if you're a Star Wars dork. Regardless, I'd like to remind everybody that this build is being sponsored by AceAddity. I did get to use their new filament. I have a quick video I can show you about that. It is their Premium PLA Plus. I loved it. I had no complaints with it. I'll show you the print in a minute. Comes on a cardboard spool, which is environmentally friendly, and I don't have to deal with excessive plastic spools anymore. I know there's a lot of people dislike that, but I'm a fan. I like the fact that the bag that it comes in is also reusable and thick and sturdy. It's not a cheap bag, so you will get some mileage out of that also. So I always appreciate when they don't cut corners on little things like that. Also, a reminder: the files can be purchased for the droid we're building at the Etsy shop of the Droid division. So go check those out if you would like to build your droid along with mine. So let's get started, shall we? The first thing I start doing as the prints roll off of the printer is throw them in a tote. So if you don't have your tote full of prints yet, give it time. I'm sure you will catch up. The important ones, however, right now are the feet, the knee, and the thigh. So we're going to work on these three pieces. The nice thing about the Droid Division parts is everything has dowel holes drilled in them, and you can print the dowels, and the pieces are also labeled for right or left. Before we assemble the parts, and actually, if you didn't notice already, I have the dowels cut for the legs also. First step I'm going to do is I'm going to take these parts out into the garage, and we're going to sand them down and get them ready for assembly, and then we'll put them together with some adhesive, and then we'll sand those jointed areas down next. So as our shopping list continues to grow, I got to have more things for you to write down, and again, these will be in the show notes. First and foremost, we're going to need sandpaper. Everybody has a method for finishing their final prints, and they all stink. And I will review several different types. Like you, I have scoured the YouTubes in order to find the best videos and the different techniques, and I've tried several of them. I've bought different things to use and try. Bottom line is you're going to need sandpaper regardless of what route you decide to take. I use 80, 320, and 500 grit. The first droid I built, which was, again, the pit droid, I started all the way down with 60, and I did the whole thing by hand. I had since picked up a palm sander, so if I would add a palm sander or rotary sander to your list of things to eventually grab. Christmas should be around the corner here shortly, so time to start working on those Christmas lists. Speaking of which, add some goggles and a respirator to that. You're going to be kicking up some awful dust. You don't want to breathe it in. We should all have some leftover K90 masks from COVID. If not, then make sure you buy some if you don't buy yourself a cheap respirator. Goggles are nice. You feel kind of silly wearing them, I'll be honest with you, but it takes one little nick of sand to hit you before you realize they're worthwhile. So other things we're going to need down the road, Bondo. I will show you the type of Bondo filler that I use. Some type of super glue. I use a UV resin. Rubber gloves are nice. I didn't have them for the majority of my first build, but once I decided to start wearing them, it was a nice luxury. So drop a few bucks on some rubber gloves if you can afford to do so. And a file set. If you want to get in the little detailed areas, a set of files is nice to have. I found a really inexpensive set on Amazon that came with some longer pieces as well as some shorter ones to get into the little detailed areas. Once we step outside of the garage, I can show you that. And again, I will leave a link in the show notes if that set's still available. If not, I will find something similar that you could pick up. So I think that is all I have for us to do in here. Since we're always kind of preparing for the next step, one other thing I've been doing and adding to my box, I've been stockpiling wires. So as you're getting things ready, if you have a junk drawer with some old cell phone chargers, I have some cable spools, some old Ethernet cable. Just grab anything you have, start tossing it in the box. We're going to need those for the neck, and maybe you want to add them to different areas if you want to enhance the droid in other places. But yeah, start grabbing some wires and putting that aside. So with all that aside, let's grab our sandpaper and our parts and go out in the garage and start getting sanding done. Hey, so we are in the Droid garage. Please don't hold the mess against me. We work with what we have, right? So before we get started, one method I found online that you could use are these things called shaving cards for woodworking. So if you have flat areas, basically you can use these cards and shave the first layer lines off. Those are okay to work with. However, as I mentioned, I'm probably going to be using the palm sander for the majority. And also for when we get into some other bits, some larger files. And these all came as a set. And they come with various smaller ones as well of different shapes and different points that you could use. Behind me also I have my box of sandpaper, my safety goggles, insect repellent, and speaker so that you can find your zen while you're getting to work. So I'm going to shut this off and maybe we'll do a time-lapse video if I don't feel like listening to some music, and we'll check back and see how much work we get accomplished today. Hey, we're back inside. Let's quickly review what we've accomplished today. Not a whole lot, if I can be honest with you. I have other things to do, but there will be more sanding videos before this gets published, I'm sure. I got the foot and the thigh piece mostly done today. A couple things I wanted to point out. So, as you can tell, there are some areas in the bottom where there's little edges that I couldn't get with the palm sander, so I'll either use the files or hand sand it, or I might even get the sanding cards that I showed earlier and scrape those up. And then same thing with down here where the supports were. It's still real gritty down there. I'll get one of the larger files and sand that off. Again, the palm sander makes things easier, but there's still going to be a lot of elbow grease that gets put into it. And another thing to point out too is closer to the edges where we're going to put these pieces together, I don't really concentrate too much on. Once we put them together and seam them, we're going to need to hit that with the sander anyway. So I'm really just concentrating on the bulk portion of it. And if you're new to droid building and finishing, all we're really doing is just getting rid of the layer lines and turning this into just a gritty, mucky mess. So if you can kind of see there. And there are some areas that I didn't quite get fully, and again, they're closer to the end, so once we get the other pieces put together and we go back over it, those we'll address those areas then. Excuse me. And again, some smaller areas in here, I'll probably get to smaller files and attack that area with that. That's all we have right now. There will probably be more sanding up before it is all said and done, and so that's either going to be at the next video or in a few minutes. I guess we'll see. Talk to you soon. Hey Droid Builders, I know it's the same video, but it is a new day for me. It is a gorgeous mid-September afternoon in Ohio. You're probably watching this in November, so sorry if I ruined any internet magic for you. I don't have the funds for internet magic, but I did want to show you this piece that printed using AceAddity's PLA Plus in addition to my Bamboo Labs P1P. Printed like a dream. Again, I'm not a master printer, but it came out fine. Adhesion was fine. We're getting ready to sand it today, so I figured I'd show it to you guys now while it was fresh off the printer. Main reason I'm out here is, first of all, it's so nice. I want to take advantage of the weather. And we have these little areas inside of the foot, so you can kind of see where the sander worked, and now there's still those lines where the sander didn't work. And we had talked about using those wood scrapers, so I'm going to give those a whirl today and show you how how effective those are. And we also have that little grime in the back from the supports, and the top of this, the way it came out, is just really, really heavy with layer lines. One option is to fill it, but with the files, I think I'm going to try to elbow grease it and see what kind of effect it has on it. So there we go. I'm going to put it on a time lapse so you guys have some fun watching that, and I'm going to get started. Hey, just to show you, we just got using those cards. So if you look, did a pretty good job. And it's still labor intensive, but it is much easier than using sandpaper, and it's less wasteful. So you can preserve your sandpaper that way. I also hit the top of this, and while it still looks like the layer lines are on there, which they are, it is way more smoother, way more, oh, that's awful. Anyway, I'll still hit this with the power sand, with the palm sander here shortly, but wanted to show you guys the progress on using those sanding cards. Alright gang, that brings this month's video to a close. There are still plenty of leg parts for me left to sand, so my goal between now and next month is to get those rough sanded, and in the next video we will begin assembling those parts and then fine sanding them, getting them smoothed out and ready to paint. So I hope to see you guys next month.